You ask a rider why they ride, you're probably going to hear words like freedom or adrenaline, right? But the actual reason is happening right inside your skull. Welcome to this explainer where we're diving into the hard science of how motorcycling literally rewires your brain.
So what if the real reason riding feels so incredible is purely biological? Today, we're looking at some seriously provocative data. It shows that throwing a leg over a bike changes your brain function in a way that honestly, no gym session, productivity hack, or fancy meditation app can ever really replicate. And as you'll see, it actually starts before you even turn the key.
Stage 1. Gearing up your brain.
To get why this happens, we kind of have to talk about something called enclothed cognition. Basically, it's this psychological quirk where what you wear and the symbolic meaning you attach to it measurably changes how your brain works. There was this amazing study out of Northwestern University back in 2012 that proved this beautifully. They gave people a white lab coat. When they told the subjects it was a doctor's coat, their sustained attention significantly spiked. But when they gave them the exact same coat and said it was just a painter's smock, that cognitive boost completely disappeared. Nothing. Same garment, different meaning, totally different brain activity. So let's bring that over to motorcycles. Step 1, jacket. Step 2, helmet. Step 3, gloves. You're methodically putting on this heavy gear, and you aren't just protecting your physical body. You're sending a massive symbolic message to yourself about competence, alertness, and, readiness for consequence. This deliberate ritual literally tells your prefrontal cortex to wake up and shift gears before you've even touched the throttle. The mental noise just drops. Your focus tightens. It's not some placebo effect. It's enclothed cognition doing exactly what the research predicts.
Moving right along to Stage 2, the manual transmission workout.
Now think about the difference between a manual motorcycle and an automatic scooter. A scooter, it's super easy, it's comfortable, and it does the work for you. But here's the catch. That convenience quietly robs you of the exact cognitive load that makes riding so good for your brain in the first place. On a manual bike, you're doing this crazy juggling act. You're simultaneously managing the clutch, the throttle, gear shifts, balancing your body weight, and tracking real-time traffic input. The inconvenience? That's actually the whole benefit.
And what does all that intense coordination do to your gray matter? Well, researchers in Japan actually strapped wearable near-infrared brain imaging devices onto real riders out on real roads. And they found that wrestling a manual motorcycle lights up the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, or the DLPFC, heavily and consistently. This part of your brain is the executive command center. It handles complex planning and high-level decisions. So literally, every single gear change is a cognitive rep. Every corner is a high-speed decision tree. You are building executive function just by surviving your commute.
Which brings us to Stage 3, silencing the monkey mind.
Okay, first we need to talk about the default mode network, or the DMN. In neuroscience, this is basically the biological engine of what we call the monkey mind. It's the network that fires up when you aren't doing anything demanding. You know that voice that wakes you up at 2 a.m. to remind you of some horribly awkward conversation you had 3 years ago? Yeah, that's the DMN. It is the engine for idle overthinking, repetitive self-referential loops, and ultimately, anxiety. But then, look at the sheer, absolute fire hose of data you have to process on a motorcycle. You're tracking lanes, hunting for hazards, finessing the throttle, balancing the machine, mapping spatial awareness, all firing at the exact same time. Your brain simply does not have the processing bandwidth to run all those crucial survival tasks and run the anxiety loops of the default mode network. It just can't do both. So it forcefully kicks the DMN completely offline. When riders tell you their head never feels clearer than on a morning ride, they are not being poetic. Their brain's anxiety network has literally been forced to shut down.
And the physical fallout from this mental shutdown is absolutely stunning. A neurobiological study out of UCLA's SEML Institute found that a single 20-minute motorcycle ride drops your cortisol levels by a massive 28%. 28%. Cortisol is your body's primary stress hormone, so dropping it that much in just 20 minutes, that's a staggering biological recalibration.
But wait, it gets even better. The UCLA study didn't just see a drop in cortisol. They saw a measurable shift in the ratio between cortisol and a hormone called DHEA. Now, cortisol causes long-term wear and tear, but DHEA, that is a neuroprotective superhero. It actively shields your brain, smooths out your emotional regulation, and builds up your cognitive resilience. So shifting that specific ratio means a ride isn't just a temporary mood lift. It means your nervous system is literally scrubbing itself clean and building active armor against chronic stress.
All right, Stage 4, the far transfer effect.
Those Japanese researchers I mentioned earlier, they ran another controlled study. They had one group ride motorcycles daily for 2 months, while their control group didn't ride at all. After 2 months, the riding group didn't just get better at riding. They actually showed measurable, everyday cognitive upgrades in working memory, semantic memory, and episodic memory. These are absolutely vital core brain functions that seem to have zero obvious connection to being on a bike.
The researchers named this the far transfer effect. Basically, the constant real-time spatial calculations, the hazard tracking, the split-second choices you make on the bike, they actually cross-wire in your brain. You're building what they call cognitive infrastructure. The raw skills you develop just staying alive on 2 wheels transfer directly over to help you make sharper decisions, process information faster, and stay way calmer under pressure in your normal everyday life. It is quite literally a cognitive training program hiding in plain sight.
So it all really boils down to this one powerful idea: ride-in creates high cognitive demand with low emotional noise.
Just think about why that matters for a second. We live in a world that is completely screen-saturated, totally sedentary, and incredibly distracted. Our attention is fragmented by extremely high emotional noise, but we're starved of meaningful cognitive demand. Motorcycling completely reverses that destructive modern equation. It fully engages the brain without drowning it in anxiety.
So, the next time you see a rider out there, fully geared up, remember, they aren't just out there chasing a cheap thrill. They are actively recalibrating their stress hormones, they're beefing up their executive function, and they are forcefully rebooting their anxiety networks. The science is clear on this. Riding isn't just transportation. It is a full-blown biological upgrade. Which leaves us with one final question for you. Are you ready to train your brain on two wheels?